1. Irreversible. Let me tell you about a film that many people physically walked out of. Not because it was boring, but because it made them feel something deeply uncomfortable. The film is called Irreversible. It was released in 2002 and directed by Gaspar Noé, a filmmaker known for pushing audiences far beyond their comfort zone. From the very beginning, something feels wrong, not just emotionally, physically. During the first 30 minutes of the film, Noé used a very low sound frequency, around 27 hertz. Most people can't consciously hear it, but the human body still reacts to it. The result is subtle. Viewers feel anxious, uneasy, almost nauseous, like their body is warning them that something is about to go terribly wrong. At the same time, the camera never sits still. It spins, tilts, moves through dark hallways like a restless nightmare. The environment feels chaotic, disorienting, and the audience becomes trapped inside that chaos. Early in the film, viewers witness an act of extreme violence. When the movie premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, many people simply couldn't handle it. Some stood up and left. Others walked out in silence. But the most disturbing part of Irreversible isn't the violence. It's the structure of the story. Because the film is told completely in reverse, the movie begins at the end of the story and then slowly moves backward through time, scene by scene, moment by moment, until the audience finally reaches the beginning. And that's when the true emotional impact appears. Because by the time you reach the final scene of the film, which is actually the beginning of the story, you see something simple. Two people, in love, relaxing in the sunlight, talking about their future. It's peaceful, ordinary, and incredibly fragile. By placing that moment at the very end, the film forces the audience to realize something painful. Everything we saw earlier in the movie has already happened, and nothing can undo it. That's the meaning of the title, Irreversible. Time moves in only one direction, forward, and once something has happened, there is no way to go back and change it. 2. Mother. Let me tell you about a movie that audiences absolutely hated, but critics couldn't stop talking about. The film is called Mother. It was released in 2017 and directed by Darren Aronofsky. When the movie premiered for general audiences in the United States, something very unusual happened. Viewers gave it an F rating on CinemaScore. That's the lowest possible score a film can receive from an opening night audience. In other words, many people walked out feeling confused, angry, or even betrayed, because the movie they thought they were going to watch was not the movie they actually saw. At first, the story seems simple. A woman lives with her husband in a quiet house in the countryside. She spends her days restoring the house, painting, repairing, making it feel alive again. To her, the house is more than a building. It's something fragile, something worth protecting. Then, one day, someone knocks on the door. A stranger arrives. Soon, another guest appears, and then more. At first, the visitors seem harmless, but slowly, something changes. They touch things they shouldn't. They ignore boundaries. They behave as if the house belongs to them, and the woman begins to lose control of her own home. The camera rarely leaves her face. Almost every scene follows her perspective, which means the audience experiences the chaos exactly the way she does. Confusing, overwhelming, invasive. Eventually, viewers begin to realize that the story isn't literal. It's symbolic. Jennifer Lawrence's character represents nature. The house represents the earth. And the endless stream of visitors represents humanity. People arriving, taking resources, using everything they can, and leaving destruction behind. Meanwhile, the husband, played by Javier Bardem, represents something else. A creator. A godlike figure who seems fascinated by human devotion, even if that devotion leads to chaos. As the film continues, it begins to mirror stories from the Bible. A mysterious couple arrives, like Adam and Eve. A violent conflict between two brothers, like Cain and Abel. And eventually, crowds begin to gather. The house transforms into a place of worship, conflict, celebration, and destruction all at once. Everything happens inside a single living room, and the tension escalates rapidly. What started as a quiet psychological drama becomes a surreal nightmare. War, religion, frenzy, consumption, all happening in the same space. Near the end of the film, a shocking scene involving a newborn child pushes the story into territory that many viewers simply couldn't accept. For some people, that moment was the breaking point. But for others, it revealed the true message of the film, that humanity often treats the world exactly like the visitors treat the house, taking everything, consuming everything, without ever stopping to ask what happens when nothing is left. And that's why Mother became such a divisive film. Because it isn't just telling a story, it's asking a question. If the earth could speak, would it sound like the woman in that house? Desperate, overwhelmed, and begging humanity to stop. 3. The house that Jack built. Let me tell you about a film that made people physically walk out of the theater. Not because it was boring, but because it forced the audience to sit inside the mind of someone deeply disturbing. The film is called The House That Jack Built. It was directed by Lars von Trier, one of the most controversial filmmakers in modern cinema. When the movie premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2018, something unusual happened. More than 100 people stood up and left the screening before it was finished. But the reason wasn't simply violence. It was the idea behind the violence. The story follows a man named Jack. At first glance, Jack seems ordinary, calm, quiet, intelligent. But inside his mind, everything operates under a completely different logic. Jack doesn't think of his actions as crimes. He calls them incidents. Each one, in his mind, is part of something bigger. A project. An artistic construction. Jack believes he is building a masterpiece. Not with paint. Not with stone. But with carefully staged acts that he believes reveal something profound about human nature. In his philosophy, true artists must ignore moral boundaries. If art is meant to reach perfection, then nothing should stand in the way. That idea is what makes the film so uncomfortable. Because many critics noticed that Jack seems to function as a reflection of Lars von Trier himself. An artist who constantly pushes boundaries, even when audiences accuse him of going too far. The structure of the film is also unusual. The story is divided into 5 chapters, each representing a different episode in Jack's life. Throughout these chapters, Jack speaks with a mysterious figure named Verge. Verge acts almost like a guide. He questions Jack, challenges him, and slowly it becomes clear that this character mirrors Virgil, the guide in Dante's Divine Comedy, which means the film is quietly leading the audience toward a familiar destination: hell. Not a supernatural one, but a psychological one. As the film progresses, it becomes clear that Jack suffers from extreme narcissism. He sees himself as exceptional, above ordinary morality. But at the same time, he struggles with something fundamental. He lacks emotional connection. At one point in the film, Jack practices facial expressions in a mirror. Not because he feels emotion, but because he wants to simulate it, like an actor trying to learn how a normal human being behaves. This emotional emptiness is what makes the character so unsettling. And it's one of the reasons so many viewers walked out at Cannes. But the reaction to the film has always been divided. Some critics see it as a dark satire about the role of the artist. Others see it as an example of artistic arrogance, a film that crosses ethical boundaries in the name of creativity. But whether people admire it or reject it, most agree on one thing. This is not a film designed to comfort an audience. It is a film designed to confront them. And sometimes, the most disturbing part of a story isn't the violence itself. It's the idea that someone might believe it's beautiful.